Master's in Cybersecurity at UMBC. And pass it to the next person.
My name is Nikita Galovets, and I'm a student at Eastern Michigan University getting my cybersecurity degree, and I'm in the advisory board of the NCSA.
My name is Vitaly Ford. I have just got my PhD degree from Tennessee Tech University in Tennessee, and I'm Director of Chapter Development at the association.
Cool. My name is Joshua Schultz. I am a student at Washington County Technical College. I am also the treasurer of our NCSA chapter.
My name is Robert Stone. I go to Waukesha County Technical College as a student, and I am the vice president of our chapter.
So this forum today is for the audience to ask questions to the students to get your perceptions of anything. Just ask us questions, pretty much. So anybody has any questions that to ask the students of maybe a 3CS or anything that we have at our college or?
Yeah, typically students ask you, but
yeah. So, what's your biggest challenge? Have you heard from students in trying to get a job?
I'll tell you.
All right. Yeah. So the question was, what is the biggest challenge for students to get a job? In my personal experience, and I've been here in the United States only 5 years. I'm coming from Russia, basically, so I'm an international student. I have double challenge because, first of all, it's if you go to security jobs, you have clearance or not clearance jobs. So I cannot, by default, especially Russia, cannot get clear jobs. Yeah, so that kind of cancels out a lot of opportunities for internationals. But regardless of that, you still have a lot of jobs that in private sector. And I'm becoming an assistant professor right now, so there is a lot of jobs in academia as well. But the biggest problem that I've seen so far was to actually understand how the job market work, how the industry works, and what they want from the student. Because when you go and I've talked to a lot of undergrad students, and they always say, "Hey, I don't know what to put on my resume." So I'm saying, "Hey, did you do this?" And I know exactly what kind of courses they take, and I've talked to professors and know exactly what kind of projects they worked on. So I said, "Why wouldn't you put this project in that?" And they think, "Well, it doesn't really seem like this project was good enough to put on GitHub or something like that." And it doesn't seem like when I volunteered at a conference, I don't think it's very viable experience to put in my resume. So I kind of showed them a couple of examples of what exactly industry looking for, what kind of experience they want to see, what kind of hands-off stuff. So if they know how to work in Linux, if they know how to set up virtual machine, it's already a plus. So they need to put that in a place in the resume. Because a lot of times they may ask, "Hey, do you know what virtualization is about?" And they may get struggled because they may heard from you just once the virtualization term, but they already worked in a VMware, they work maybe in a NetLabs or whatever else. They use that platform, but they may not be as versatile in terminology to utilize that and talk to the industry about that. Same goes with Linux. For instance, when they take Unix class, and I established a club at Tech, and I did a lot of seminars on Linux. I did a lot of seminars on Python development, and so on and so on. And the thing I saw is students who came out with from Unix classes, they passed it and they forgot it. I was asking them, "Hey, can you navigate to this directory? Can you find a file for me? How do you find?" I said, "Well, man find command." They were thinking, I'm recognizing man, but I cannot really scroll through. I don't know how to search here. I said, just read through. I'm not going to help you. Just read through it. You got to know how to manually find what command does, right? So they're not really, because we provide, as a professor, we provide them, "Hey, this is exactly one command you need to remember. That's how you find the file, right? Find dot," and they literally do find dot. I'm asking them, find it in every single file, folder, everywhere you can possibly have on this computer. They do find dot, and then I'm asking, "What's dot?" "I don't know. My professor told me to use dot." I said, so the problem is that we're really pushing on them the things that we as professors know, and I'm saying as professors, I'm going to start in this fall, But professors know as cheat sheet, right? If you think about it, it's almost like cheat sheet of commands. And they can all get that from the internet, but I think what they don't realize, say, again, in Linux, is that to understand how it works, you have to install it as your operating system. And I'm running Windows by default, right? But I still have Kali Linux on my flash drive. I have virtual machines that I always have them running on my Windows machine. So they have to understand that they don't just use Linux or Unix or anything else, Mac OS or whatever else, just as a main machine, but they can use it as a virtual machine and do all the stuff that they typically do on their main machine over there for a whole semester because you're taking the class. Just try to do it. See what you can do. I mean, you always can go back and use Word if you don't like LibreOffice or whatever else, right? But at the same time, if they do it, if you push them and tell them, hey, we installed this Ubuntu machine, try to work literally all your other classes in this Ubuntu machine. See what you think, right? So I think the biggest problem for me was that students don't know how to write down what skills, what projects they actually get, what kind of stuff they can put from on GitHub, on public, I guess GitHub will be public, or Bitbucket, say they were working with Bitbucket that allows you to do private, right? Or GitHub Educate, but then they are afraid to transition private repositories to public because they don't think that they are good enough. So that was also a big problem. Yeah, resume and then Linux and GitHub.
So I want to add to that too. I always encourage students to join their local ISSA, ISACA, or IC Squared chapter, or InfraGard, and go to professional meetings to network with the professionals during school. So you develop that relationship with their members, and most likely, from my experience, after a year, my associate's degree, I had several job offers already on the table. So I always encourage students to join professional chapters. Costas?
Just to help the Gresham, Oregon people plan better for the next 3CS, how did you as students feel the student track went, and what was your experience from the job fair? So
my experience with job fair, I really liked it. This year that kind of switched it up and incorporated students into the 3CS. I liked the job fair. There was multiple multiple employers, public and private sector. I really enjoyed it. I learned about some new companies, possible new partners with our student association. I didn't attend too many sessions with student track because I was helping out. But overall, I think it was a success. I really like it, and hopefully we do it next year. Tito?
I definitely agree. I think the job fair was a great opportunity to network with a lot of the businesses and kind of get to know the industry a little bit more.
Yeah, I also like that in the job fair this time they had also different schools, so the students actually could talk to the chairs of the departments, talk about the programs. So I think it's really nice to have more maybe schools involved and presenting their master's programs or bachelor's program if you got coming from community college, right? So
I also agree it's a good idea, to have more schools because I'm finishing up my master's this December. I'm looking for a PhD program. So there's a couple, universities that were here that I was able to ask them questions on, what program they had, if they have any designations, if there's any, research assistantships available because it's pretty expensive. So that was a good point.
Absolutely. I'm just going to echo with what they said about the job fair. I thought the job fair was a fantastic opportunity to network and discover really what's out there. And as regarding to the student track itself, I attended one of the career building student tracks, but other than that, it was only on Wednesday. I think students can actually learn a lot from the other sessions that were available, and that's where I learned the most. I learned about scholarship programs. I learned about building a vulnerable network in a box and how that can be used to be a career builder. And then from the number of sessions that I was able to attend, I'm probably going to string those together for my capstone project. It's a really valuable experience to learn from.
I guess for me, for the job fair, what I got out of it was with talking with some people, me at my age changing careers, going into IT, I learned, they gave me pointers as to sites that I can go to find jobs in my area that pertain to them also, so kind of like remotely working. So I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, I might ask all of you to just continue commenting along those lines. Obviously, I'm looking at it as a professor, and what I see may be something completely different from what you see. And I'm interested in what you saw in the other students attending the job fair, because to my observation, there were students heavily engaged in talking to employers about real opportunities, and the students had something to say and something to offer and to carry on a good conversation. And then there were about another maybe half who looked like deer in the headlights. You know, the students clueless. But my observation was that's still a positive experience for them. That may not turn into a job offer, may not turn into anything, but just being there and experiencing that was valuable. And I wonder if you share that kind of observation, or if you think I'm nuts.
No, you're not. So yeah, being the more you're around the environment, or the more you go to these type of conferences, and we get nervous sometimes. Me presenting, I get nervous. I used to get nervous a lot, but no, you're right. I think he's right about that.
Yeah, I would like just to add something to that question. I think a good thing that you could potentially add on it to help students is to have some kind of ambassador. So typically, for instance, if I remember myself, first time at the job fair at Tennessee Tech, I just came to the United States, barely knew English, and I didn't know how to present myself. I didn't know, I had my bachelor's degree, but again, I didn't know how to present myself in a completely new environment, what kind of rules you have here, and the only thing I could do is just walk around and watch people talking to other people. But then watching is nice, but at the same time, you don't really learn from watching, you learn from doing. And if I had somebody that could see that, hey, I'm just walking around, I'm not doing anything, right? They just approach me and say, hey, let me introduce you to this company. And just go to the company and just talk to the students first a little bit, what they do, where I come from, and be a mediator between that company and the student. Kind of say, hey, I just met this student, he's interested in this and that, and this company is about this because I already know who our vendors are, right? So maybe you could talk about, can you talk about yourself, company talks about themselves, and so on and so on. So kind of be a more pusher mediator to pick those students that you see that, hey, there's deer in the headlights. You see those students. If you notice those students, that means there are many people like that, and that means that we can help them, just literally approaching them and helping to introduce to the industry.
Yeah, maybe if the hosting college has a club here or something, those club members could help out, and be the mediator, or help the students. That way, sometimes we feel uncomfortable around professionals, and we're more comfortable around other students. So maybe if we have whoever's hosting college have their club members come, to the job fair and have them interact with students.
And Bob, just to touch on that point a little further, I think that it was a little crowded, and I think that's good. But it was a little crowded in there, and I think that when the students walked in there, they may have felt a little intimidated by that. Because you had those conversations going on, and it's hard to jump in, especially when it's crowded.
We had twice as many people as we anticipated.
I understand. Yeah, please don't.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. But I think students that haven't experienced job fairs before.
We could pick up on this and have students, members of Mount Hood, we're out there, students, and just be on the lookout for the students who look like the deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
And pull them aside and say, hey, come over, I need this guy from Raytheon, I need this guy from Boeing.
Absolutely. It is a lot of people's first experience. Maybe have a frequently asked questions, or like, hey, this is what you should expect from a job fair on the website, or a link like that. Just because. An orientation.
Yep.
That would be a fantastic idea as well.
Orientation is at 8:30. If you haven't been to job fairs before, come at 8:30 and we'll help.
Yeah, that would be
Cool.
great.
Did you have a summary or an overview of what that company was, what ones were participating before? I don't know that much about it.
I don't think we did.
Not really.
You know,
We,
students need to know
yeah.
who they're gonna be talking to so they can prepare.
That's a great point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're really motivated. Students will go to the website and do some background check on the company.
If
Yeah,
they don't even have a list of who's gonna be participating, how they're gonna do that?
that's
Yeah,
true.
that's the
Yeah.
point.
Also, the job fair here is a very specific targeted market that maybe students aren't used to. You know, I think of a job fair at our school, and it's kind of like, other than the one Drew came up with, which was very IT specific. But the job fair is like everything from, you know, window washers to you know, whatever, retail and everything. This is very specific, and it would be good maybe to have that list of who's there, what they're looking for, what kind of jobs there are.
I will have a question there. Yeah.
The theme of this particular summit is cyber IQ. So the question to you folks, how would you increase student cyber IQ? If you could go back in time and help yourselves to do that and help current students to do that?
I can. Yeah. So the question was, how do students perceive the cyber IQ, and what would we do to change something to gain more cyber IQ? I think, in my opinion, there is several layers of cybersecurity, cyber IQ per se. The first one would be the basic knowledge units, which in your case you would run into basic infosec understanding what is cybersecurity, right? We all have those classes where you just introduce basic cryptography, introduce networking, introduce Linux, introduce server client architecture, right? So that's a like fundamental thing that building block. And then you move on to defense, which is going into understanding the needs for defense in different architectures, infrastructures, right? Critical infrastructures, you have a cloud, mobile, differences between those architectures, why we can use antivirus here and we cannot there, why antivirus is not a good solution, how firewalls work, right? IDS, IPS, that will be defensive side, that will be the second unit. And then you go into the third unit, which is offensive. Sometimes they introduce offensive before defensive, which I don't think is a good idea, because you cannot understand offense without understanding defense. Vice versa, of course, but at the same time, offense goes on breaking things that you have to understand how they work. You cannot break into firewall if you don't know how firewall works or what it is, right? So if you introduce them to pen testing before you go into defense, it will be a waste of time, because they will think, well, I'm going to just run Kali with these kind of exploits, and I'm going to do pivoting through here and there because that's what these lines of code will work. They don't understand what goes behind the hood, right? If they exploit the typical buffer overflow, why is the buffer overflow? Why does it exist? How does stack work or heap works, right? Dynamic static analysis. Why there is so many different types of analysis for malware, for instance. That would be a third level for offensive. And then at the very end, I would probably have a class that would put the students who take defensive class against people who take offensive class and see what they do. Right? So I haven't seen, I think Rochester does that kind of thing, Rochester Institute of Technology. They have, of course, they have capability, they have huge infrastructures and so on and so on. But at the same time, if you think about it, I can run easily at least 2 virtual machines on Linux because they don't require much power, right? So I can set up a web server, I can set up a mail server, and again, if you tell me, well, we don't have time for showing them how to set up web server, how to set up mail server or whatever else, Active Directory, well, you don't have to have time. You can delegate that to students' own time. You can tell them, hey, these are resources you can use to understand how Apache is installed or what's Nginx or whatever else, like as your web backend, and some of them will pick it up, some of them won't. But then among those who picked it up, you can say, hey, we have a club, a chapter here, right? Association, would you like to join and become a officer, and then explain everybody else how that works? So you don't necessarily have to do it in class. You can talk to students, you can handpick, that's what I did actually at Tennessee Tech. I handpicked students I saw potential, and I told them, hey, can you talk about Burp Suite? I don't know what it is. Well, that's great, because I know that you can learn about it. I will help you out in my office hours, but then you can pick it up and tell students about it, right? During our club meeting, off class, so you don't have to have a kind of class. So to summarize, I think it would be, again, I really think that it should be structured, and I think NICE frameworks already structured it, and NIST frameworks already do. So you have the base level of cybersecurity, you have defensive, then you have offensive, and this can be, I know there are not enough time and not enough courses, not enough teachers to cover everything. That's why National Cybersecurity Association is here. We also try to help when students reach out to us. We try to help compile some resource specific for the needs of the student. So if a student asks me, say for instance, do you know anything about web exploitation? I may not know, but Gus may know, right? So I may just say, hey, we have on the board, we have people who may be able to ask a question. I'm going to forward it to that person. And that way students learn outside of the classroom, and at the same time they can present that knowledge on the club meetings that, say for instance, Tennessee Tech will have club meetings twice a week. One club meeting is for general population about seminars, and the second one for competitions preparation. So on the competition preparation, we just do all kinds of exercises just by ourselves, set up everything on our laptops. We don't, even though Tennessee Tech is a public school, we don't have we don't have server infrastructure. So we had to connect everything to a very old switch, right? We had an old router. One of the students brought a router, connected everything together. We had a defensive team. Our offensive team was sitting in another room. It was me and a couple of other guys, and we just connected to the same switch. We had a different IP range, and the students had to figure out how to defend against us, right? So it was a simple infrastructure having just laptops. That would be, I think, a good thing for students is definitely a club engagement.
And to add to that, I wish I would have joined a club a lot sooner, because professors don't always have time to talk to everybody in the classroom. So if you could go to your peers or go to your club members and talk about certain topics, or like Vitaly said, create your own labs or stuff like that, it really increases your knowledge of what you're doing and helps you. And also the professional chapter thing, go to these professional chapter meetings to increase your knowledge, know the trends and things that are going on within cybersecurity.
Sir?
Yeah, so one of my main concerns for my college is enrollment. And so I wanted to ask you guys to think back to like your middle school, high school days. What did, as you laugh, what did like colleges and community colleges in your areas do to like help pique your interest? Is there any things that stood out, certain activities they did that like really had an effect on you guys? If you could share some of those.
So for me, it was the cyber competitions. Like collegiate cyber defense competition, NCL. I think, capture the flag type competition. I think NCL in the classroom is a really good example on how you could pique a student's interest in cybersecurity, because the capture the flag type events are really fun. They're really engaging, and I really love them. So I think if more colleges did NCL in the classroom, it'll capture the students' attention a lot more.
Yeah, I just want to add also a couple of notes. I know Tennessee Tech does Gen Cyber and camps, and I'm not sure if community college can apply for camps or do camps, but in any case, I think a nice idea would be, the main problem about high school, middle school that I see, even though I didn't study here, is that they don't know that cybersecurity is a thing. They don't know that it's a career path, and they don't realize that it actually is money, right? So if you go and what we did actually with the club, we went to high school and we just presented a seminar that some of my undergrad students picked up and talked about web vulnerabilities. They talked about mobile security. They talked about privacy, Facebook privacy, what goes behind the scenes in Google, how Google works, simple things, comp sci things and cybersecurity things, and show them that cybersecurity is actually becoming more of a kind of, if you think about engineering, there is mechanical, electrical, chemical, right? 3 different fields, all underneath mechanical engineering. Now, I think computer science became one of those fields. It's no longer just computer science as a major. Now you have cybersecurity, you have data mining path, right? You have HPC, and you have critical infrastructure. So those pieces almost becoming right now separate entity, like in engineering. So that means that cybersecurity can be literally kind of becoming a big part of computer science because it engages in everything else. Data mining requires it, HPC requires it, right? In Oak Ridge, they have a Titan, the pretty large computer power, right? But how much security they have to put in place there, right? They when I talk to those people, they say they constantly get attacked, and they constantly get attacked from Russia and China, right? Russia for money, China for intelligence, and tons of malware are coming in, and it's all security, cybersecurity. So if you can show them that, hey, cybersecurity is in any computer science thing that you would like to go to, it's fun, it's challenging, but it's fun. It's constantly changing, and it always pushes you on exploiting your abilities again, not exploiting necessarily, but using your abilities to understand something new. You cannot just get bored of it. And if you can come up with your undergrads or associate degree students with a couple of seminar talks, it doesn't need to be long, like half an hour, something interesting, something exciting. Show them, say, have I been pawned website, right? That can, if you enter your email address, you will see what kind of websites were compromised, and that will show them, hey, security is there, you just didn't know about it, right? Show them privacy settings on your Facebook. Show them that their apps use different sensors, and tell them how those sensors can be exploited, right? Say, for instance, one app, another app, they interact with each other, and one app has access to your messages, another app has access to the internet, and malware, how malware can work, this app that has access to messages can send pipe kind of through the data to another app, and that app having access to the internet will go to the internet, and you won't even know about it, right? Tell them about how ransomware works, the big thing right now, right? So what kind of Windows just, I think yesterday, they released an update for Windows machines so that you can check mark and they will block access for specific apps. It's kind of like Linux privileges pretty much, but they will block access to specific apps for specific folders, so no ransomware will be able to actually get installed. So tell them about that, some basic online safety, and if you developed some kind of exercises, and at Tennessee Tech we actually developed some. I worked on the CTF Unplugged. It's a capture the flag unplugged. Does not require any kind of technology, but also other students picked up on it, and they're developing right now a Harry Potter version of it, which introduces students with a Harry Potter theme. They have graphics. We have a great designer. She's also computer science, cybersecurity, but she draws great stuff, and it's all free available. I can give you some information about it, and that we're going to use that at Gen Cybercamp, and that kind of gives them an opportunity to see what the cybersecurity is about and how it all works. And also NSA, you probably were at the talk of NSA Day of Cyber, right? That can be used if you tell them, hey, one day in high school you came and gave them to go through the basic, 3 level, I think. They have meet 3 persons in NSA Day of Cyber. And then they have a level where you can do exercises. So the second day or second week you came there, you say among 50 high school students, you had only 10 that actually did it, right? And among those 10, you had a competition, and tell them, hey, actually NSA Day of Cyber also has exercises, and that will draw their interest because that's something challenging.
Yeah. So also, the Cyber Patriot program does a good job for high school and middle school students. I'm a Cyber Patriot technical mentor, and it really generates some interest within the middle and high school students.
But that's, I believe, it's kind of specific to the location. If it's not nearby.
Yeah, if it's not nearby, then
Yeah.
you could always start a team at your. So what Waukesha Technical College does, they bring their local high school and middle school kids to their community college, and they have their meetings there. They train them, and they help them strengthen their skills. So they created their own team at the community college and had the high school students come in and the middle school students come in.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I wonder, did any of you participate in Cyber Patriot competitions in high school?
I did not.
No.
None of
Not
you?
available.
I don't think it was up.
Probably wasn't.
It's not old enough yet for you to have done that, but if you're interested in that, doing that, I've seen this stuff done in Southern California. I'm pretty sure if you went to the Cyber Patriot, you can look for the Southern California Consortium for Cyber Patriot stuff. I don't know if that's the exact title, something like that. Or just go to the Cyber Patriot organization themselves. They have materials, and this is not hard to do. They have materials that you can use at a community college. You do need a faculty member at the high school, because almost all high schools have restrictions on access to students because of, trafficking and all kinds of rules and regulations about access to students, and they're careful with it. So you'll have to have a faculty member at a high school. But you can do it, and they have the trainings and stuff available to prepare the teams, and you can host the competitions with your local high schools. And when you do that, those people become part of the pipeline. They're ready to come to your college or to at least get into the field, if not your college and some other college. But it increases. That's what that's all about. And those are fun things. You watch those kids; they are just excited. It's not in the classroom. It's extracurricular activity.
Sure.
So
Cyberwatch West will help you with that too.
absolutely, Cyberwatch West has that.
Okay, yeah, go to our website, Dan Madsen and myself, we do a lot of Cyber Patriot setup and help different regions get that started.
Okay. Thank you.
Next question. Anybody else? Classes?
One last question, if you had to remind us of one session you went to that you thought really matched your current interest, which one would that be? And what can NCSA do to spread those kinds of sessions to your members? If you just go down the line, which one did you like?
So for me, it was Casey with NCL, learning more about NCL and NCL in the classroom, and to spread that message to all of our students within the Student Association to join. It's really great. You pay $25. You get the Security Plus labs, the CEH labs, and to tell advisors and professors about this to put it in the classroom, because the more lab time that we have is the more we're going to learn. So it'd be nice if the classroom would be just all labs and reading at home. So that's what one of the sessions that piqued my interest, which I've been a previous NCL participant. Actually, our team won in 2015 overall.
Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to actually go to any of the sessions. I was kind of jumping around back and forth between them, but I definitely think that they were helpful.
My session was probably PowerShell. I like technical stuff, but to add to Gaz's point about NCL, I think that's a very key point here, that things like NCL can be introduced in the classroom. And if you don't have resources to sponsor students, and if students cannot really afford it, there are a lot of CTFs online, right? There are a lot of ctftime.org. A lot of them, every single week, they're all free. Now, you say, how do they start? Well, what I did is I found on GitHub there are tons of walkthroughs. So if you go to, say, I know, Seesaw, Panoply, or whatever else CTF you pick up there, if it's even international CTF, right, you can always find a previous year's walkthroughs for CTFs. And typically, people really put time and effort into writing up every single step they've done to perform that single task in the capture the flag competition. So that is free, and students can do it in their free time. What you can also encourage them to do, it can be an extra bonus, right? Everybody likes bonus points in classes. So you can tell, hey, you can either do this project or you can participate in that particular CTF. And if you show me that you successfully actually perform tasks or you put effort into learning, I'm going to count it as a project time or something like that. Or just count as a bonus, right, to your final test. Say, for instance, I'm going to add 10 points to your final test. So, but I do like technical things, and I think students really would also enjoy to see some kind of lab activity where they can do something on a laptop with somebody else in a room who can walk them through the exercise, show them how, I don't know, some kind of things that they've heard of works. Say, for instance, I don't know, just randomly, WannaCry, right? WannaCryptor, that ransomware. Show them how that works. Show them the exploitation technique. Show them that tool that is used, right? How it is used, why it's used, and I think that could be something fun to do too.
Personally, I really enjoyed how to build a portable vulnerable network. It had a real-world application to it. It was simple, and I can use that as a sort of an outreach tool for high school students and something like that. And I plan on utilizing that in my future. So I thought it was a fantastic presentation.
One of the ones that I went to was the Cybersecurity and Society one. Really opened my eyes to discussing about what we feel should be private and shouldn't be, and people's moral and, I guess,
Ethics.
ethical, the way they perceive it and how they go about it in their day-to-day.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and spending some time with us. And thank you.
Thank you.